Coach, what have the last 48 hours been like for you and the staff? Where are you in your preparation?
Well, it's been very busy. I mean, up late last night, and then long meetings today. So, yeah, game plan in. Had a good practice today. We bumped it a little later to give us a little more time, but I thought it was a good practice.
Go to Steph.
Hey, Mike, I know a few weeks ago you kind of talked about, your thoughts on Lane's offense and keeping the love going between you guys. Well, what is your relationship like with him since you guys have both come over to the SEC from out west?
It's about the same. I mean, there haven't been as many circumstances when you see one another, but, he's, yeah, I mean, I've known him for decades, and so it's really pretty much the same. We haven't seen each other as much just because of they haven't had the conventions or the gatherings so much.
Andy?
Hey, Mike, what kind of stands out to you about what that Lane offense does with Matt Corral and kind of, obviously they're kind of run a pass heavy, but they can run a lot too.
Well, I think Corral's kind of the key to it. He figures out who to deal the ball to, throws it pretty well, and then hands it off and runs it himself. So it'll be exciting to see, what he does there in the NFL.
Steve?
Coach, I know you mentioned not being able to get out and see things quite as much. You hadn't had the alumni tour events, but what's it been like being around Mississippi State fans and administrators, people like that, kind of getting acquainted with this rivalry?
Well, here in town, you get to see a lot of people. I mean, it's whether it's practice or in the building or in town, or they come for a game, and I mean, everybody's fantastic. I mean, it's a very spirited place that's very excited about Mississippi State. So, anyways, it's a good crew to be a part of, and a lot of good people.
John?
Hey, Mike, you went through the Egg Bowl already once last year. What were your thoughts on, it kind of goes back to what you just said here, but what are your thoughts on the overall rivalry, and how does it compare to kind of the Apple Cup and other rivalries that you've been a part of in the past?
I'd say it's similar. It's probably a little closer to what it was Texas Tech versus A&M, but it's just good to be in stands where you're not looking at paper cutouts, and so it's a lot better year and a lot more exciting that way.
Chrissy?
A lot of the media classifies you and Lane's offenses as high-flying offenses to the point that they almost sound like the same thing. Can you just clarify the differences between the two for them?
Well, they're quite a bit different. They're kind of an RPO offense, run pass option, and then the quarterback keeps it some. Both of us have some tempo going, and, both are trying to attack the field. But yeah, I mean, in both, I think a good quarterback's kind of key to it too.
Steve?
Coach, you've coached in a lot of rivalry games. How do you help your players maybe manage the emotions of games like this?
Well, really, they should handle it the same, as you get, kind of a really good team-driven locker room. You should, everybody should be on the same page, avoid the noise, and just worry about being the best player and best team that we can be,
With Ole Miss, especially the guy like Sam Williams up front, they've been able to get a lot of pressure and bring some guys down in the backfield. What do you kind of see them do up front? Do they disguise things well, or do they just have some athletic guys that are able to get back there?
Kind of both. They've got some athletic guys. They'll kind of change the looks on you a little bit. It's more kind of front-driven than blitz-driven, but just quality guys that they'll move around and try to keep you off balance.
We'll go back to Chrissy.
We talked a lot about Matt Corral. What do you think goes into stopping a quarterback like that operates that way?
Well, I just think you have to have all the space and gaps accounted for, and then account for the players. The biggest thing, the simplest way to put it, is have your eyes in the right place. And just get better, but be real disciplined with where you're putting your eyes, and don't take yourself out of position because you see something that looks like something else.
David?
Coach, it's conventional wisdom that weather impacts passing games. Is that really true anymore between the air raid and the RPO?
I don't mess with the RPO so much. I haven't found that it did, whether you're playing like the likes of Utah, Colorado, or somebody like that. As long as you have footing, if you have good footing. Cold weather doesn't. I mean, heck, they came up with a lot of the concepts, started at Green Bay, Montana, BYU, and of course San Francisco 49ers, which anybody that's never been to Candlestick Park on a cold day, I mean, that's just a mess, and it's in a swamp there too. But yeah, well, and then you go back to Cincinnati and some of the passing concepts and stuff guys like Sid Gilman did. No, it was in cold weather first.
Steve?
Coach, you had a little bit of a head start, I guess, not much of one, maybe 6 or 7 hours. But how much do you think having an extended game where you had the opportunity to rest many of your regulars, how much of a benefit do you feel like that's been in practice so far?
Hard to gauge. We had a good practice, bounced around good in practice, and it's kind of difficult to judge, I don't know how it is over there on their end right now.
John?
Mike, how much better is this Ole Miss defense than that unit a year ago, in your opinion?
I think they're quite a bit better, I think they're quite a bit better. I think they do some good things pressure-wise. They're all back. I mean, they're all senior. This is a very senior team, and so, I mean, it's another year of experience to polish up and draw on their experience.
Go to Steph.
Mike, in that game against Alabama, it seemed like Alabama was just attacking Scott Lashley in that right side a bit of being Charles Cross as much as they can. What have you maybe seen from Scott the past few weeks, and do you feel like his game's improved a little bit since that game?
I think Scott's gotten progressively better. And then, of course, Scott, who's, I wish he could be here longer. I mean, Scott's a guy that really hasn't played a lot of football this season. I mean, that's it. And he's having a really good season, but, maybe we can find some exception and keep him around. But, no, he's really playing well right now.
Joel?
Mike, when you look at what Will has done over the course of this year, obviously the experience factor in your offense, the repetitions, we've heard you mention that a lot. Is there anything else that stands out with Will that has made him get to the point that he's adding your offense? And I guess has he maybe even surprised you with how quickly it seems he's kind of picked some things up? Not that he's a perfect finished product or anything, but I guess just what outside of experience has made him as good as he's been, and has he surprised you at all?
Well, his dad's a football coach and an offensive football coach, so I'm sure he picked a lot up from his dad. And then, he's a real good worker. He works like crazy, watches film and studies. Then the other thing is I think the people around him have improved, so that's helped make his job easier and helped him elevate. And then I think that he wasn't afraid to step in and be the leader and be the quarterback. And so it's not like, he took that some long period where he had to overcome his own nerves or anxiety or something. I mean, he was ready to step in there and play right away. So,
following up on that, do you feel like that's just a product of him being a coach's son and always around the game? What do you kind of think led to that boldness, that ability to kind of just step in like that?
Well, I think he got to know the locker room a lot better. They saw how he worked. and respected it, and saw how much it meant to him, respected that, and then, we're quick to follow him.
Chrissy?
Someone this week described you as the greatest quarterback evaluator in college football. What do you look for at that position whenever you're just looking at quarterbacks to bring on?
Are they accurate? Do they make good decisions? The biggest, which is hard to pinpoint because it's kind of a collection, is how good they do as far as elevating the players around them. But you start with, are they accurate, and do they make good decisions? And if they can't do that, then you can't get past square one. I mean, they've got to be able to do that. And a lot of times you hear how big somebody is, how strong somebody is, how fast somebody is. Well, that's every bit of that's irrelevant unless they're accurate and they can make good decisions. And then from there you look for, do they have quick feet? Are they fast? Which those are two different things. And then, or do they have a strong arm? And then some collection of those things and their ability to lead and elevate their team will help them or allow them to unfold as a quarterback. And you see quarterbacks come from all different levels, not just Division I. And I think because, it's a position that you learn, that you study, providing you can do certain things. And so I think that, some people don't view quarterback as a coached position. I think it's the most, arguably the most coached position on the field, with the possible exception of offensive line. And then and you got to push that along. But people talk about all these great quarterbacks and every one of those qualities I've mentioned. I mean, the Hall of Fame's full of people that were missing two or three of those things. And so, but I think it starts with, how you elevate the players around you.
We'll wrap up tonight with Steph.
Mike, it seems like every week the Tigers suite is picking up tackles for loss or sacks. What's kind of made him such a dynamic player on the defense to kind of break through and get some tackles in the back?
He loves football. First of all, Tyrus loves football, and that's one of my favorite qualities about him. Loves to be out there, loves to play, loves to compete. But then, he's a big guy. He's a big guy with, long frame, big hands, long arms. But then, he's inordinately fast and, more importantly, quick for a guy his size. And then, he's just an explosive guy out there. And I think the players around him help quite a bit too, because, as you're attacking an offense, you have to account for all the gaps, and the better those guys do, the more likely somebody's has a chance of getting through there. But of course, Tyrus has some personal explosiveness that I think helps him.